Today I'm going to be showing how to do front rotors and pads on a 2009 Nissan Rogue. I'm only going to show one side because the other side is identical. But yeah, so here we go. The first thing you want to do is make sure the parking brake is on and jack up the car. And there's little divots on the pinch weld. Next thing you want to do is get an impact and a 21mm socket, or the tool that's in the back of your trunk for removing the wheel. That'll work also. You just can't do it while it's in the air. You'll have to put it back on the ground or go ahead and do that beforehand. Breaking the nuts loose and then taking them off, but then you raise it up, you take the wheels off, and you'll be fine. But you take the wheel off. Next thing you want to do is get a 14mm socket and a ratchet. You could use a 14mm wrench, but you want to get one. Put it on there, break that loose, and there's also a second one right here. If it'll, where am I at? There it is. If it'll focus, so dark. But right there, there's a second one. You take those two out, and this takes the caliper off from the caliper bracket. Now that those two bolts are taken off, you should just be able to grab it, shake it, and it come free. The pads may stay with it, and that's normal. You don't really want to let the caliper hang though on its own, because it's pretty heavy and it could separate the line from the inside, or even if it's old enough, it could just snap the line. So you want to kind of have the caliper sitting on top of something to keep it from damaging the line. And they may be hot, but what I did was, before I started working on this, I was driving it for a little bit, and the rotors were, I knew were going to be hot. So what I did was, since I was replacing them, you probably wouldn't want to do this if you were keeping the same rotors and just swapping the pads. But what I did was I sprayed them down with water to cool them off. If you do that on rotors you're planning on reusing, there's a good chance that it could warp them if they're not already warped. So this is something to keep in mind. But you just want to grab your pads, take them out. I actually don't see any squeal sensor on them, which is weird. But so the two pads are out, and next thing we're going to do is take this bracket off, and we'll get to that. The bolts holding the bracket to the knuckle, this one, and then also one more back here, they are 19mm. They will require a 19mm socket, but you just want to take those all the way out and pull the bracket off. Now I've taken these two 19mm bolts out. There goes the bracket. The rotor is just held on by that. It's still, nah, it's not really one, but that's all that holds it on, so it just comes right off. And then now we're halfway done. Now at this point, what you could do is throw the rotor on, put the bracket back on, and then put your pads on here in a little bit. What I'm going to do is, while I have a bunch of room here, is take the caliper out and push the piston back in, because the new pads will not fit, especially with the new rotor, will not fit in there with it pushed out that far. So that's what I'm going to do. Now to push the piston back in, what I'm using for these big channel locks, and what I'm going to do is just open them up with one hand, very difficult, and put it on there just like that. Get the back of it off just like that, and it'll squeeze it. I can't do that with one hand, but I'll show you me doing it. and then that amount of that wide of channel locks didn't close it all the way, so you want to close them up a bit. You just want to make sure it gets all the way in. And as you can see, that is all the way back in there. So now you can put the rotor back on. This is the new rotor. You can kind of see it on camera a little bit, some of it. There's kind of a yellowish tint through it. And what they do on these is they put grease on there to prevent it from corroding while they keep it in stock. So before you put anything, you put it on there, you want to clean all the grease off using a degreaser, brake clean, anything you have that gets grease off pretty well, and just clean it all off, or else you will have a noticeable loss in braking force. Alright, now the rotor is on. The next thing we're going to do is put the bracket back on. And the two bolts that hold it on there, and I'm talking about that bracket, the two bolts that hold it on there, you want it as tight on there as it was. Not any less. I think it'd be hard to get it any more without a 5-foot wrench, but you want it as tight as they were, because otherwise this could work its way loose and then you lose brakes. So that's what we're going to do next. Now, what a lot of people look over and don't do, I have this bracket tightened on here now, the rotor and everything. What a lot of people don't do is put new grease on these slide pins. So that's what we're going to do next. These, literally just, you pull the seal off it, just like that, and they come right out. I'm going to get all that old grease off. This actually doesn't look terrible. You might have a worse one, because they do get pretty bad when they're not serviced, but you're going to get all that old grease off there and just put a new coat of grease around it. You don't want to pack a whole bunch of grease on there and then try to shove it in there, because then it'll hydro lock and it won't slide like it's supposed to. It won't have near the travel. So I'm going to clean this off and then put new grease on it, on both of these, the top and the bottom, and put them back in. I got new grease back on there. I tried not to put a whole lot on there, but now there's new grease on there. You just put it in there and the seal pops back on. It's moving freely, goes all the way down. I can feel it bottom out, so it means I didn't put too much grease on it. And now just the last one. Something to note, if you were to pull them both out at the same time and then look at them and realize, oh, I don't remember which one went where, the bottom one has this rubber seal on the end that goes in there. So just something to watch out for. Now if you run into a problem, this is usually where I run into them. These aftermarket brakes don't always make the best replacement clips here, these anti-rattle clips, but you pop these out and your brake pad kit should come with new ones. You put those back in there, and you want to kind of make sure they're centered, or else they won't want to go on. Now I'm going to show you where to grease, or how to grease both pads. First I'm going to show you how you want to grease the inner. And the only difference is really one side, but here's the inner. You just want to grease top of this. I have a lot of grease on here, so it's a little difficult. You don't want to get any on the friction surface. And just right here where it's going to contact those shiny new springs we put in, and then it's going to contact the piston right here. So that's where you want to grease, and I guess this is actually how you'd grease the outer also. So just grease both pads like that. Nice coat across the front, and then a little bit here on the ears. Another thing I forgot to mention, probably came with these squeal sensors right here. And you just want to grab them. And you see how this is, and it's got a little clip. It's really hard to see it probably. But it's got a clip. You want to flip it around and just pop it on. There's a little recess on there where it's supposed to go. And you just push it on there with great strength. And now it's on there. So that's whenever you know your brakes will be low, when this starts squealing. And this goes on the inside. You never put the squeal sensor on the outside. So, pad's going to go in like this. Alright, luckily these springs here were stiff enough to hold the brake pads in place while I put this spring in. Now you can see the springs goes in the holes on the backs of the pads, and sometimes these springs right here are not stiff enough to hold the pads, and what you'll have to do is you take the caliper, you put the bottom bolt in, and then you pull the caliper down, put the spring in there, meaning that spring, and then you have to put the caliper back up, put the top bolt in, and then take the bottom bolt out, pivot it up, and put the bottom spring in, put the bottom bolt back in. And that's just the easiest way. Otherwise you'll have pads trying to fly every way because it's got two springs holding it. But luckily this one seems like it is not that case. So I'm going to put the bottom spring in, and it might do that. We'll find out though. And it actually seems like everything's holding in pretty nice. So that's how that goes, and then you just put the caliper back over it. Now this is the top slide pin here. Something you may notice about it is that right here it has a flat spot that is meant, I can keep my hand out of the light, it's meant to catch on the back of the caliper bracket. So when you're tightening, you just want to make sure that it catches on there with the side of it, and not that it's just being crushed just down against it. Not on top of it. It has to be in the recess, not on top of it. So just be careful of that when you're tightening it. I just hit my phone with the ratchet. Just be careful of that when you're tightening it. When you go ahead and tighten this bolt though, there's no reason for it to be crazy tight like the caliper bracket bolts. These are just bolts that essentially just hold this here to slide. It doesn't need to be ridiculously tight, so just keep that in mind. Alright, now the two, or actually all the bolts holding the caliper on are holding the caliper on. The next thing you're going to do is put the wheel back on, but since this rotor is not seated to the hub how the old one was, you want to actually torque the wheels down in a sequence. You don't just want to impact, hammer that one, hammer that one, hammer that one, hammer that, just snug, 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 a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and just keep going until it actually is tight. Otherwise you take the chance of distorting this if it gets into a bind. Now right now I just have all the lug nuts started by hand. So I usually try to start on the bottom just because it seems like it wants to come out more. So just tighten. Snug. 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 And now you can kind of before you go anywhere, because if you don't do this, you'll probably put it through your garage or whatever else is in front or behind you. You want to pump the brakes. And then now I got a solid pedal, so I know that it's contacting. Last thing you want to do though before you go anywhere is you want to lower the car down with the tire on the ground. You want to get a torque wrench and make sure it's torqued too. With this vehicle, I'm going to guess 90 foot-pounds, and just make sure it's tight and that wheel isn't going to come off. But that's essentially how you change the brakes on a 2009 Nissan Rogue. Front brakes. If you guys like the video, leave a like, that'd be great. If maybe you want to see more, subscribe. I'm always trying to make more. But brakes are pretty straightforward, so I thought I'd just kind of show you guys how to get them done, maybe save you some money. Thanks for watching.